Hello and welcome to IM's AEW Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Give a donation directly through Red Circle and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. A link is in the description. Read the Social Suplex newsletter, shout out to Trish and Tim as always, and to every person who's contributed so far. Subscribe to Rich Latter on his YouTube ventures and follow every other show here on Social Suplex. One Nation Radio, keeping it strong style, all things elite, wrestling art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide, and Joe Shing Around. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and this is your quick look back at the AEW week that was. 30 minutes covering AEW Dynasty and go through everything that happened on the show. As we know with a pay-per-view week, 30 minutes is the gimmick of this show, but we'll see. We'll see how long it goes. Often pay-per-views have a lot more to just dive into and talk about, given that they are the culmination of stuff or like the launching pads for the next whatevers. This time we're in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and just overall thoughts on the show. Really enjoyed it, absolutely flew by. I didn't watch the pre-show because, as I talked about with these reviews beforehand, I think I said it for the last pay-per-view I did, where I was like, I think it was a huge mistake to try and do the pre-show on the same day because I get this out on a Monday and the pay-per-view doesn't air till a Sunday night, and I'm not staying up late watching it when I know I'm going to have to do the edit and everything like that, so and a normal Monday on top of it. So I decided last time that as much as I do value what I see on the pre-shows, I just don't have the time. I'm not going to be able to cover them in this format. But the main show, I'll go through every single match. But I thought it was a really strong show. I think it was one of the better paced pay-per-views they've done for a while. For me, it absolutely flew by, and I generally didn't have any feeling of the show feeling long to me personally. Again, didn't watch the pre-show, but it didn't feel long for me personally until I got to the trios tag, and then that felt like just a little bit of fun. It was elevated by the fact that it was Kyle O'Reilly returning in his hometown, so suddenly there is a purpose for this rather than just your typical fun party six-man tag to give you a little bit of a reset or leave people there live a chance to go to the toilet, because there is no respite in an AEW show. Some people go to the toilet in the women's matches, some people go to the toilet in that. Personally, I'd like it so the women's matches aren't designated as that, but you watch the show and it feels like a very natural point of, it's kind of what it's designed to be a little bit, which sucks. And you can see people in the crowd using that opportunity. But there's also no break on these shows. The trios tag is designed to be that piss break. That's the one where you actually, that's the one. For me, that is the actual piss break. But overall, for the whole show, for me, it absolutely flew by, and it flowed really well from one thing to the next. It got to Jamie Hayter Thekla, and I was just like, there's not been a single weak thing on this card. This just absolutely flowed all the way. And I think they're match number 6, so it was like absolutely flowed to that point. And I can't give that any more applause than that. Someone on Blue Sky, sorry I didn't note down who posted it, pointed out how much of a statement it is that AEW have put on 2 stellar, absolutely stacked pay-per-view cards since WWE's Elimination Chamber, and that competition's absolute failure to card their one WrestleMania build. AEW have done 2, and they've both been amazing, and they've both been stellar. 2 banger cards, from top to bottom as well. And that really hit whilst I was watching this show. I know people have been posting about it during the build of this one, because they've nailed the build for Dynasty as well, but I really felt it watching the show. It's one thing to build an exciting looking card 2 pay-per-views in a row, but it's another one to actually deliver twice as well in such a short amount of time. And you watch Dynasty and it's impossible to not get that feeling of the hype continuing. They did a really good job of hyping up this Wednesday show. They're doing a special show, got Collision on Thursday again, but you're watching this show, you can be excited ways to actually watching it, but they did a really good job of saying, well, the excitement continues, we're barreling on onto this, without really interrupting your main show, especially when we're in this world of comparison where the competition is doing like stop-start kind of shows where they'll have a match 5 to 10 minute break, have a match 5 to 10 minute break. AEW shows barrel along, there is no break. There's obviously that's a detriment in a different way. Absolutely perfectly designed to not watch live, because you can pause whenever, compared to a WWE show which is designed to not watch live because you got to skip over a lot of stuff. This is the opposite, where you're pausing to not miss anything, and I would much prefer that in my wrestling products. Like, I'm pausing so that I don't miss stuff when I pop off to do something, rather than I'm popping off to do something because I won't be missing anything. Like, there's a very different vibe going into the show. But anyway, I thought that was noting all of that stuff before we actually get into going through the main card. So now I get to go into detail about what do I mean by all those things. Starting off with the Young Bucks versus Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada. I mean, when your opening match is this stacked, and oh man, it was such a fun opener. So let's play the sound clip first, and then we'll get into our opening tag match of the show.
What's Takeshita doing here now? What's he not doing?
Oh! He let him go! What is that? He let him go! What is that? Takeshita let him go! Okada planted! Cover made! And the Bucks win it! What was that?
One of the best brother tag teams in wrestling history versus two family members who literally revel and openly laugh in the face of each other's misfortune. How do you think this ended? I like how they've been teasing it and whatever, and Don Callis has even tried to lean into it. For me, that was quite a decent way to maybe even tease that they're not ever going to break up. And then you watch this match and you go, no, it's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually. Fortunately, the injury to Kyle Fletcher has removed one of the most interesting pieces about this, where which way he went felt like a really interesting dynamic. Both of them were vying for his affection. However, now it's back to just being like a one-on-one thing. I don't know how they're going to pivot, because in terms of their animosity, I don't really know what changes now that Kyle Fletcher's not there. You just don't have the push-pull dynamic of Kyle Fletcher. You've got their animosity, that's still there. The core point of this hasn't been damaged. And during the opening flows of this match, after a great little rotation into a cutter off the apron for Matt Jackson, Don Callis was on commentary like, great match, but Matt Jackson's had back issues for the last 4 to 5 years. I was like, I beg your pardon. What do you mean the past 4 to 5 years? Like, I mean, the Young Bucks match I covered with Sam on his AEW Match Guide podcast last week, we got a quote from Matt Jackson himself. Go and listen to that. That had that man selling his hurty back, and that was like 8 years ago. He's been doing this for about a decade. The Bucks' long friendship with Okada on such entertaining display, as the man put on the Jackson jacket, did the pose, and even took the piss by amping up for a hot tag in the Bucks corner. Then another laugh as the Bucks had both Callis family men in sharpshooters, and they amped each other up to not tap by just striking the other in the face, like, don't you dare tap, you piece of shit. The Canadian crowd were chanting holy shit at the bell, never mind when the Bucks entered that second gear faster flow. And then we got the outstanding suplex from up high, with Takeshita beautifully launching Matt overhead. Should be no surprise that there was such a great bubbling pace in a Young Bucks pay-per-view match. So many inventive spots as always too, like Matt sunset flip springboard over 3 men to send each one suplexed backwards by the other. The fans on their feet in applause after a quick strike flurry. They were in no need of chanting, "This is awesome," when they're far past that level of amped excitement. For me, that's like a big takeaway whenever I watch an AEW pay-per-view. When a "This is awesome" chant rings out, it normally has been earned, not just like a sudden faster flurry to get you invested. It's generally kicked up a gear and been earned. But then also you get this, which you get in Young Bucks matches. Will Ospreay's also great at getting this as well. Kenny Omega, third person who can do this. Well, you've elevated them up that gear, but then you take them so far past it where you're not even thinking about doing a chant. You're just on your feet clapping and applauding and cheering, just making noise. And that's something that AEW somehow managed to achieve every pay-per-view. The Young Bucks have always become masters of hitting that third or fourth gear to get to that point. Okada and Takeshita eventually bubbled over and struck each other. Matt's interruption flowed into Takeshita accidentally hitting the knee strike on a rolled up escaping Kazu. The final third gear found in flows, the Bucks are so good at it. Like the first miscommunication leading to Takeshita double clotheslining the Bucks, then flowed into Okada accidentally hitting the Rainmaker on Konosuke, and that had Okada eating a double super kick. They're just so good at setting something up and having it mirror itself in a way that I just wasn't expecting. Meltzer driver set, but Takeshita grabbed Nick's ankle, only to realise what would happen if he let go. So he did. Meltzer driver for the win, Okada down and out, and fair to say Don Callis was a little bit livid on commentary being like, show me the replay, what on earth happened? Climbing into the ring. Even in the moment of it, not wanting to believe that Takeshita did what he did, but I feel like in this moment they were playing it off as undeniable now that this has reached a point where they just cannot leave it. But yes, one hell of an opening match. The Young Bucks yet again on pay-per-view hitting that third, fourth gear, where you watch so many matches kind of, they enter second gear. It feels like just as they're maybe amping up into that third special pay-per-view gear, that's actually just the momentum towards the finish. But the Young Bucks always manage to get through. They just know how to take the crowd for that ride. So yeah, what incredible way to start the Dynasty show. And as I was talking about, really enjoying a match, but you're also excited for the future, and match one just set the tempo for that, and the entire night followed. Next up was Chris Jericho versus Ricochet, donned the problematic bowl. I both enjoyed this and thought it went on a little long. At the start, there was cheering and ovations for Jericho, which he was more than happy to play into, in what felt like a much bigger response than his actual return. Like, Vancouver really enjoyed Chris Jericho. Dickhead Ricochet obviously got his usual bold reception, with Jericho playing into it, grabbing a ringside camera and just saying into its mic, he's bold. Richard was far more athletic than his old Canadian man of an opponent. Even if the crowd chanted, you've still got it. That said, it wasn't like Jericho was bumper-versed, like given the man took a Death Valley driver on the apron. Then came the workover segment, slowing things right down and allowing Jericho to sit and lay down whilst going, ah! Ringside interference set up with Leona pulling on Jericho's arm for a moment. I'm sure that won't come into play in a more pivotal moment of the match. Jericho nailed his line soul, always nervous the older he gets. And oh, look at that, the walls of Jericho locked in, and Bishop up onto the apron, and Leona uses the ref distraction to break it up. Great sell from Ricochet off the codebreaker. The man basically planked himself in the air so that his face took all of those knees on the landing. Part of the match was Ricochet's shooting star caught into a codebreaker. Filmed so perfectly so it was behind Ricochet on the landing, but it turns out they didn't even need to mask anything, because on the replay you could see that Jericho had absolutely nailed the timing. Like, he doesn't move until Ricochet is mid-air and positions himself absolutely perfectly. It's just like, oh, so you filmed it from behind just in case because, you know, it's a complex spot, but you absolutely nailed it so you can show it on the replay. The Raw's locked in deep, interference repeated itself again, this time to set up the old Canadian man diving from up high onto all three men like he's Sting. Yet another distraction and Toa Leona interference, this time Ricochet grabbing Aubrey's attention away so Leona could charge at Jericho. Bubbling like we're building to Jericho making that return match comeback, Ricochet on top, but you know Jericho's going to get that fight back, it's his return match. Like we're in that sequence of trying to convince us that Ricochet might win when we all know, oh, wait a minute, Spirit Gun hit, then hyped up by his lads to hit a moonsault, and Ricochet beat Chris Jericho in his return match in Canada. Oh, that was a surprise. And that isn't the last time I'll be saying that on this show, especially when it comes to Canadians. There's just this feeling of, oh, I feel like they're definitely going to go a certain way. It's just a nice little return match for Chris Jericho. To be fair, which it was. But the result was something I never saw coming. I just assumed that Chris Jericho was going to win this match. Maybe you prolong it a little bit. Maybe Chris Jericho finds some friends to take on the demand. To be fair, that could still happen. It's the classic Chris Jericho feud, to be fair. So this time it's the babyface, where he gets beaten immediately, but the feuds just continue. And you're like, yeah, but they've already beaten you. So why is this continuing? All because he's babyface now. Don't forget that. If this feud continues, if Chris Jericho finds friends to take on the demand and it keeps on going, like, well, what's the point trying to be proven here? Because the demand have already beaten him on pay-per-view. Technically, Chris Jericho should go on to feuding with somebody else and then Ricochet climbs up the cards or something. But that's not how Chris Jericho works. That's not how he works in AEW. I'm not saying that's exactly how this is going to go, but I've seen the play before. Even though he's been gone for a year, it seems like people are actually quite ready for more Chris Jericho. It was long enough of a break. That was one of my questions. Was 1 year enough for a lot of the fans? And it turns out, it seems like the answer is yes. But if we get the same play again, I wonder how long that will last for. But on something that is absolutely working, and that is Andrade El Idolo. He was in a number one contender for the AEW Championship match versus Darby Allin. And I see Darby's out in his pink fluffy puffy hoodie. The way he wears it, it just reminds me of the hallucination Tracy has in 30 Rock when he doesn't take his pills. Like he's the little blue guy going, Tracy's freaking out. Darbs doesn't normally entertain the idea of a standard wrestling match on the pay-per-view stage, but if he wants to be a main player, potential ace, he's going to have to partake in these kind of dances. Perfectly happy to let Andrade contort him though. The bright side of him being a bouncy rubber boy means he can make those submissions on him look extra brutal. And also the wrist side of Darby immediately showed itself. Andrade did his spot where he's chilling on the ropes, but he was met suddenly by a running Darby Allin and crashed them both to outside. The front row Mamacita spot, this time used to directly have the commentary say, Andrade is being impressive, but he is showing off for the female. Then a minute later he's eating a Darby dive whilst chatting to the woman. Not that Darby didn't cause his own problems too, went full Samoa Joe and hit a diving dropkick on the stairs, like bloody hell wee lad. Like what are you doing? A thick red line across the man's back for the rest of the match. Samoa Joe said it was one of the biggest mistakes he made. And there's Darby Allin just doing it because. I don't even know what to say to the crucifix bomb off the top that landed into a crossface, just incredible. The form Andrade has returned with. Then an equally incredible Darby dive crashed them both into the announce desk, and the chair sat Andrade got to eat a dropkick from up high from Darby. McGuinness and commentary did a great job here. He's just hit his head on the announce desk, then here again on the landing, so that we're all set for what comes next. On the apron and lifted into a delayed vertical suplex had the crowd bubbling in such a great reaction. The magic of Darby Allin is being able to convince the crowd that they'd actually hit such a move. Oh damn, they actually did. Sometimes the best way to convince them you're going to hit a move is you just hit it. It's like, oh okay then the next time you tease it, like, well, they actually did it that other time. Don't worry, the biggest cheer was still for Andrade taking his trousers off to reveal his tighty yellow underpants, and it kept the crowd so amped for the flow after. Genuinely one of the biggest reactions for his 2 moonsault spot. Sudden flip into a snap scorpion death drop, and the coffin drop less kicked out of and more grabbed Ref Aubrey's arm last second so she couldn't count it. And my god, the final minute was something else. I want to try and describe it. I don't normally go move for move. Me just saying it was really athletic and it was really impressive. But as I'm trying to paint the picture a little bit, Code Red denied by flipping Darby back to his feet the way he came from, so Andrade could lamp him with a spinning elbow, and it just fell into the smoothest cover ever. Back on their feet during the replay of that, we got a quick roll through from Darby, legs locked and bridged over into a sudden pin. 2 pay-per-views in a row, Andrade has absolutely brought it. That man is cementing himself as one of AEW's reliable top players. And later in the show, Renee interviewed Darbs, and he immediately made the tease to cash in his shot on Wednesday. But I thought this was an amazing match. Andrade doing such a good job of elevating Darby for that title match, and Andrade himself gets elevated, just cemented as one of the main players for AEW. He is kind of currently the guy who can float around those other top guys or people they're teasing for it. Maybe Andrade could be used to try and like elevate one of the people who are like bubbling just below, like Brody King. Because of course, last pay-per-view he had the match with Bandito, which was absolutely stellar as well. But that's 2 in a row. He's on an absolute roll, really cementing himself. I feel like his character's in a really good place right now as well. And the attractive females at ringside spot is currently continuing to work. It's still over. When I think about it, it's not actually been done on the show for that long. But when it's a spot he does in every single match, you could see maybe people getting tired of it. I feel like the way it happens and when it happens during the matches, it's used just like any other move. Like at the moment they're able just to test it in all sorts of different sequences and places, and only just in this match are you starting to see the other wrestlers start to dive at him whilst he's doing it. And I think that's part of the magic, is not interrupting it at all and taking your time before wrestlers actually start to interrupt it. Anyway, speaking of taking your time, let's get to the AEW Tag Team Championship match, FTR versus Cage and Cope. Fair to say, Vancouver were pretty excited to see 2 more of their beloved old Canadian men. The crowd burst into singing their national anthem and Canada, Canada, as their men had some slower initial opening flow. Pretty even beginnings, but eventually Christian's arm, what did get hurt by FTR this week, got targeted and we slowed that shit right down as the baddies worked it. Cope got his hot tag, fended the 2 off for a tad, but eventually the shenanigans found their way in. Serious Adam, donning the crimson the hard way after a title belt shot, kicked out, and now he's Angry Adam. A fun shatter machine from the goodies before an even more fun one from the baddies, thanks to Christian rolling Stoke into the ring as a breakup, but Stoke was just a couple rolls too many away for the collision to be in any way natural. So he just had to keep going, and he had to speed up as well to make sure he actually collided with them. The fun sucked out with Cash's pile driver onto the bloody Cope though. Then I liked a little ringside shenanigans with different people acting as different folks equalisers. Like Christian countered Cash doing some cheeky stuff, but then Stoke countered Christian, and that allowed Cash to then get at Christian. That man sent over the timekeeper's table, allowed Copeland to be just alone in the ring, and with that we got a great panning shot as it established Cope in there with FTR, and you could see all the floor seats were standing right there with him as he attempted lampings on both FTR lads at the same time. It didn't go well, but the camera shot was cool. The camera shot was lovely. Getting cheeky with the FTR trigger cost the baddies again. Double spear and Angry Adam amped alive. It wasn't enough though. Christian still not to be found. Cope all alone, and the bloody man ate 1 more shatter machine for a loss I wasn't expecting. Although it is a loss that I fear just drags out the rivalry rather than swing it a different direction. Hope I'm wrong. I'm cheering for an immediate double or nothing swing into a triple threat with the Bucks. Part of me saw them dragging it out all the way to All In, which they still could do. I'm not ruling it out, especially as that's a summer show and the first TLC took place at SummerSlam in a summer show, so I think that ties up, but also that's quite a long way away. You could just do a standard tag match on Double or Nothing. You don't have to make it a TLC match. But then in that world we're doing the TLC match and then we are dragging it out to All In. To be fair, even if Edge and Christian won the belts, nothing's changing. Like, either way, these were our 3 for quite a while. I feel like on this road they've got to use the weekly TV to just mix in different teams and change how it feels week to week rather than these being the 3 that interact all the time. Hey, even WWF in 2000 would throw in an acolyte, so they'd throw in a Too Cool just to see them dancing with different people. Speaking of dancing with different people, I don't know if that's a transition. It's a gauntlet match. There's multiple people in it. The casino gauntlet.
I used to just go with whatever meat looked good or was on sale at the grocery store. But now that I've experienced the exceptional quality, flavor, and convenience that you can get from Omaha Steaks, I'm never going back. They can build a custom food plan based on your schedule, which means less food waste and stocking up on high-quality proteins to always have on hand. With Omaha Steaks in your freezer, you're always just minutes away from a quality dinner. Whether it's Taco Tuesday or a weekend feast. Taste the Omaha Steaks difference and never settle for grocery proteins again. Get flavorful, high-quality proteins delivered by visiting omahasteaks.com. Plus $35 off when you use promo code YUM at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, code YUM. Terms apply. See site for details. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code YUM at checkout for $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply.
IPVanish protects every device you own. Your phone, your laptop, your smart TV. If it connects to the internet, it should be protected. IPVanish encrypts your connection and masks your IP address, helping keep your browsing private at home and on public Wi-Fi. And with no device limits, one account covers everything. Stream with added privacy, browse securely, connect with confidence. Online protection made simple. Right now, save 83% off the 2-year plan. Get started today at ipvanish.com/audio and take control of your privacy with IPVanish.
for the TNT Championship. Seriously, what a stacked show. You get to this match and I'm like, wait, are we like 5 matches in and like every single one of them felt like a hyped match on a stacked card. Like this one got announced and I was just like, oh yeah, as that match graphic came up, it's like, yeah, yet another match. The Casino Gauntlet's a match style where even the not as perfect versions are still really fun to watch. I think I'm specifically thinking of last year's All-In one. I generally did not really think that highly of the men's one, but I still had a fun time watching it. Tommaso Ciampa and Rush, the confirmed first and second entrants to begin in style. Rush had the horns bull charge set, but he didn't bite, and Bandito came out number 3 to a great ovation. He and Rush had a lovely time, and by lovely, I mean Rush beat him up ringside. Number 4, Speedball Mike Bailey, for our 4th Canadian of the night. Literally kept up the pace, actually went for pins too, the crazy bastard. What are they trying to do? Win a championship. Chop battle with Rush as countdown number 5 took place, which was El Clone. His cool overhead kick and pop-up before entering the ring. Were they not as cool Velcro rip off the eyes of his mask to reveal an almost identical looking black eye area of the mask? Almost like he was just wearing a sleeping mask and just took it off and go, aha, I've got almost an identical looking thing underneath. What was that? Did I miss one episode of Collision and now I'm completely lost in addition to the El Clone character? Number 6 was the Bastard Pack, the first Death Rider in an immediate shift in the atmosphere. Moonsault from the top to the outside onto all the lads. Stare down Speedball in quite the pairing. Then Bandito entered too. Now it's a party. Another member of the Death Riders at number 7, Daniel Garcia, looking to reclaim that TNT title, entered as the man with the most urgency to actually win as he went for a succession of pins. Cradle rolled about with El Clone. Eventually Pac joined him for those corner charge runs. Number 8, Anthony Bowens got another shot at the TNT Gold, took care of El Clone, then a wee dance with Mike Bailey before locking with Pac. Rope draped inverted DDT to the Geordie looked great. Number 9, Kevin Knight, and a leap over Rouge to clothesline Ciampa on the ramp. Teamed up with Speedball, amped into a bit of competition with the 2 Death Riders, and Jet Speed won so they could lock eyes on opposite aprons across the ring. I do see this as like a really good tease for the fact that they are eventually going to have to enter competition with each other. And I feel like the TNT title, they could even do it out over that. Because AEW have said, like, we're elevating both Rodito and Jet Speed guys, which means these teams are going to end up fighting against each other. But at the moment, we're just kind of like teasing that a little bit, using a match like this to be like, well, this is an environment where that might have to happen. Bowen's the man to finally eat the horns. The crowd alive for the flurry after, with El Clone jumping in, but Bandito hitting his 21-20 plex to every man jumping to break the pin up. Number 10 for Wheeler Yuta, welcomed like the biggest piece of shit. His arrival ignited all the men crashing up to ringside. El Clone attempted to catch a toe-paying Bandito into a Spanish fly off the apron onto a pile of lads, like truly insane. The fact that he pretty much did successfully do that, but it felt like it almost didn't get much focus, like a truly insane spot. Ciampa then suplexed Kevin Knight onto them all for good measure. Pac quickly rolled Bailey into the ring, a beautiful black arrow, and our every man gets a run in flow lit up. Ciampa knee broke up the pin, Garcia in and rolled Bailey into the sharpshooter, did his awesome wrench and lean back, and Kevin Knight flew with the UFO, 1, 2, 3, and Kevin Knight wins his first AEW singles title. They are really following through their promise to elevate the 4 Jet Speed and Brodito boys this year. This feels like the maybe second step in really doing that, because obviously you got the Brody King, Bandito, little elevation that they did previously this year. Now we're getting Jet Speed's turn. Kevin Knight as a singles champion. I think it felt like a perfectly fine edition of the Casino Gauntlet. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't something where they've like got any huge surprises coming in, given it was because somebody got injured, now we're crowning a champion, let's just do something fun. But I feel like it is very exciting for having Kevin Knight as a champion and what that means kind of going forward for both him and the people around him and the people he could face, the kind of matches we're going to see. It's fair to say everything on paper screams, give that man a title, let him have a little run, see how he gets on. The AEW Women's Championship, Thekla versus Jamie Hayter. No wasting time between these two. Established right out the gate that these were two folk out to just lamp a woman. Hayter immediately jumped, Thekla with the spear, Austrian punches seated in the barricade corner, then Southampton fist in reply right after 2. A lovely brawling tone setter. Hayter teased a stalling suplex walking up the ramp, but cheeky Thekla countered to DDT the woman's head into said ramp. Worth it for the kick down the ramp and the comedic rolls, and the cool pose in the camera Austrian stroll. Tekla's flying splash from the top to the floor had Jamie going, oh bloody hell, give me a minute, caught by the mic, and a little chuckle as Thekla responded, ah fuck me too. I might have put my own individual accents and twangs. What the hell they said that? Fair to say the splash looked beautiful, but it did come at a price. Both women lying there going, oh my belly hurts. Like oh bloody hell. Slowed down a tad till Hayter could match the faster flow again. Then a great production call as the second Thekla locked in her spider wrench bench submission. They cut to the single shot walking down the ramp to ringside, staying on that single shot as Jamie did her fight out and into the apron brawl and the spill to ringside. Still stayed with it for the 10 count, positioned behind Thekla with Hayter on the other side of the ring. Panned left to the ramp side view as they both slid in, and we got them kind of entering the frame together and then go crashing into the middle. Like, don't do this all the time, but for this match specifically, it made a sequence I've seen 1,000 times far more interesting to watch. Also worked as a little breather mentally before they kicked up a gear for the closing flows, which all just happened in your usual production style. Hayter on top after a tombstone counter unwisely climbed up top. Thekla met her, bit her, and spider suplexed her on down. The kicky flow after was not enough though, so out came the spear prelude spider walk, met with a stiff knee and cursed backbreaker instead. The match just ended in a sudden surprise fashion. Roll up and bridge towards the ropes with a cheeky rope grab to steal the win. After the match, Windsor ran right out to tell the referee off for not seeing it. Hayter with the audible, "You motherfucker," she gets all angry and amped up. And to say that this match was a kind of nothing, you beat me in a multi-tag, now I have a match kind of build, I felt like the fact they had the kind of match that they did and they managed to generate the response to the motion that they did in the end is quite an achievement. Feels like they successfully made me not tired of seeing any form of this. Like, it's not like a quick feud which is over and then we can move on. Like, they actually intrigued me enough to keep seeing this stuff, which is kind of important because unfortunately for Thekla's reign, the main person she might have somehow swung back to isn't there. She's ended up dancing with Mina in a quick TV thing, here with Jamie Hayter in a quick thing. Like, I feel like she's great and the character's great. As a champion, she really does work, but I don't really see a future line of competitors. Like we're talking about Kevin Knight and the TT title, obviously he's just won it, but you can just see like quite a long line and future for what's happening there. First match as well with Okada and Takeshita. When you're watching them fight the Young Bucks, you can see the future. Even with the Edge and Christian FTR one, you've seen all the different people that this could lead to. But with Thekla, I don't really see directly who the future is going to be flowing to. They had Camille return on the pre-show to challenge for Willow's title. Is that a little hint of somebody maybe returning? I don't really know. In the past, they've broken glass and just had Athena do a match. So, that would also be fine. Thekla versus Athena. Oh, yes, please. Anyway, speaking of a championship match, which was absolutely incredible, Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay. His neck all taped up enough for Rose to see. 20-minute time limit. No Death Riders ringside for Mox. No NGPW friends waiting in the wings for Will. And a hidden blade immediately. Woke the crowd up right away with no time to cover, just posed before asking the crowd, how long have I got? Like, I've got time. And then a second hidden blade sent Mox out the ring with Ospreay's intent clear and Moxley's mouth already bloody. Like, this match was just so solid from second one. It just immediately snapped your attention, demanded it, and held it for the entire 20 minutes. I think the fact that it was guaranteed to stay at 20 minutes as well. We see these two, it's like, oh, you could give them like a little bit longer, stretch out the fact that this is almost like a dream match type of scenario. But no, this is only 20 minutes, and we've already told you what the story is going to be. And I think that was my favourite thing about it. It was the fact that technically Jon Moxley had already spoiled what was going to happen. He painted it as an inevitable outcome, but you can get behind Will Ospreay as you're like, well, no, but you can go for this. You're such an incredible wrestler. And then you watch it play out, and you watch him go exactly how Jon Moxley said he was going to go. But for me, it's so important to have your heroic hero baby faces also be flawed characters. When become pure babyface goodiness and there's nothing wrong with you, that becomes unbelievable because nobody is perfect. And if you paint yourself as perfect, that is too much. You need something. You need some kind of thing, like even just an ability to go to the dark side and maybe go a bit too far to defend your title. Like, that's enough sometimes in wrestling. But here, with the Will Ospreay match, Jon Moxley told us exactly what was going to happen. Like, you cannot control yourself in this situation. You are too heated. You won't be able to control your emotions. You will lose yourself your match. I won't even have to actually pin you or whatever. Like, obviously, in the end, he does have to actually pin him. He doesn't see the time run out. But Will Ospreay did lose the match for himself. And I like that. I like it when the villains are correct. It's not just an immediate amber, but oh no, I'm the good guy. Will took a beat with his opponent groggy on the steps to give his soliloquy. 6 months, I'm going to smash your fucking head in. That's not how people from Essex sound. But again, I'm doing my own voices today. A mistake that finally allowed Mox's moment on top. A flow to poke, fish hook, and punch the Essex man. A flashy corkscrew handspring fight back sold after with an me neck to remind us Mox had a whole heap of head-based offense still yet to show off. As soon as I typed that, Mox was posing all strongman after he countered a flying William with a simple stiff forearm. Amped us into Ospreay taking those stiff shots and asking for more. And man, the halfway point hit was such a great Spanish fly transition into a Mox bulldog choke. He's done after a weak Billy kick out, letting Ospreay land on his feet out an attempted match-ending suplex from an up high from Mox. The extra Ospreay match gear shifted into was such a great flow. A truly earned this is awesome, with the sequence ending with Mox nailing a DDT, only for a groggy Will to nail a third hidden blade before collapsing to the mat. The cheer after that was generally impressive. As Mox was promising would happen on the telly, Ospreay's emotions finally got the better of him when he pushed the ref away during his corner punches. Ospreay managed to stay on top there, and he locked in a bulldog choke of his own, but that flash of emotion had finally showed itself. 5 minutes remaining after a fourth hidden blade. Will did actually attempt a pin, but not until after his me neck and me arm, reaffirming that arm pain with him unable to tiger driver the man. Outside and back to the steel steps, William was going for the kill, but Mox won out and a jumping pile driver onto the steps, fully sold like death, the medicine man out to aid, just beating the count to get back in. Again, production didn't cut from the ringside camera as we stayed on Will and watched him eat shit with a Mox stomp once he slid back in. Paradigm shift kicked out of, a second for the final count, and another recently returned lad took the loss. Happy they didn't go for the time limit draw to give us another match in that logic. Instead, it was exactly what Mox said, with it not mattering if Ospreay had the match won, because the Englishman was instead so intent on hurting Mox that he was going to lose the match for himself, and that's exactly what happened. Really well told story, obviously an excellent match. Will is so good at just those sudden snap moments, which just give you another energising boost as they to keep the crowd really amped and loud as they're both just laying there recovering. Just a nice reminder of how great Will Ospreay is, and it's the fact that they've returned with such a strong angle as well. Like, it's not like a nice little fun return match. Like, nope, straight into storyline and straight into deconstructing the character. And speaking of returning characters, the AEW World Trios Championship was the penultimate match of the show. This was your piss break. This was off we go, get your drink. I know you've been holding it for like 2 hours now. It's like 3.5 hours, if not more, into the show. I think the main show was like 4.5, 4 hours 20 or so. Never mind the pre-show. Like, it's no wonder it gets to a certain point in the show. It's like, okay, yeah, there are no breaks on these shows. The Dogs, Finlay, Kid and Connors versus Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy and a person. A full sitcom set on the stage for the Conglomeration with applause, live and laughter signs lighting up overhead. Goofy, but the crowd immediately bought into it, and it was all worth it for Kyle O'Reilly returning to a full sitcom style cheer. I generally loved how on the first one, when laughter lit up and the crowd immediately recognised what was happening and they all bought into it. I love it when wrestling does that. It's one of the main criticisms I saw for Orange Cassidy before he joined AEW. Yes, I'm going quite far back with this one. Like, one of the main things was, he's just silly and this is like a stupid little indie thing. But the second that the crowd are totally in with it and they all go along with the bit, it just works. Him doing his light kicks and the crowd going, oh, as if he's doing something genuinely devastating. Like, it all works when the crowd is in on the joke. And that's exactly what happened here with this Conglomeration bit. There's such a good idea to have the lights up above. It makes for such a unique return because then Kyle O'Reilly returns and everybody does the sitcom way kind of cheer thing, and I absolutely love that. I also completely forgot that O'Reilly's from British Columbia, and that's where we are. What a coincidence. And what tough guys when the villain champions came out second and destroyed the set. Well, Connors and Kidd more mentally scarred it, but Finlay was focused on physical destruction. At least he didn't mind making love to the title or mime pissing on the couch. Our standard AEW pay-per-view Fun Trios Party reset piss break before the main event, but Kyle O'Reilly did give the live crowd a hometown reason to be invested. It's always the unexpected little things that pop me with Cassidy as well, like leaping to avoid a Connor spear, which ignites the hot tag and everyone knows it's coming, but instead of jumping or leaping, he just casually strolled over to tag Body and Excalibur on commentary's like, okay then? And then the Body lights up anyway. The crowd was singing for Kyle O'Reilly with his ankle lock. Finley's breakup attempt stopped by a Body knee and then a ringside orange punch for good measure, and new champions. Also, the reason that Finlay was the only one to make that breakup pin at the end was, unfortunately, Gabe Kidd seemed to get his right arm hurt when catching Kyle's leap to the outside earlier in the match. He was holding it funny for the remainder that he was in there, and eventually he was just taken out of the action, which unfortunately sucks as an act that were trying to establish themselves. And then the main event. The Canadian crowd were given their one Canadian victory. Yeah, don't get overzealous here. Don't get optimistic. They're giving you a Canadian victory because when every other one, or you're not getting nothing. The main event for the AEW Championship, MJF versus Kenny Omega. Given all the pomp and circumstance with Heaven and Hell entrances and Justin Roberts announcing under the spotlight. They also made a deal of Bryce taking the diamond ring off the cheeky champion during the corner check. Hey, that gear check before the bell actually set up something. Another holy shit chant at the ring of the bell. Like, they bookended the show with them. It tells you that you're nailing a pay-per-view card build. Started off with ringside fun times. Well, less fun for Kenny Omega, who was drop-toed into a chair face first. He applied to grab the timekeeper's table and double stomp dive off the apron onto the champion, who was kindly holding it in place on top of himself. No dive from on high with MJF on top of it though. Vancouver was going to have to wait for their table spot. About 15 minutes in, we got our biggest pop so far, as Max climbed up the corner and thrust his dick into Kenny's face. Kenny's flow was more direct after that. Big tope dive to the outside, and followed that up by going for an avalanche one-winged angel up high in the corner. MJF tried to capitalise off that and tombstoned the Canadian out the corner, but he hadn't accounted for Kenny Omega clapping his thighs together. What a unique way to fight out a tombstone. A sudden snap of pace as both men got to show off their backflips and reverse ranas. That's one of those abilities which suddenly just makes all the sense in the world why it was so popular in Japan, where Kenny Omega's just got such a skill to snap into a sudden burst of pace. MJF decided to taunt and take the piss again, and it cost him once more. You can't escape to Kenny Omega himself. Instead ended with Kenny driving his knee into Max's face, and soon after a Kota Ibushi tribute golden moonsault flying outside. You piece of shit, your stomach hurt, taunting from Max as the crowd booed and serious voice commentators called him a horrible human being. To be fair, quite a nice setup for the double crossbody crash working out worse for Kenny when it happened, which itself set up Kenny actually nailing the avalanche one-winged angel, if only not for the hurty tum-tum. MJF rolled to the outside and Canada weeps. Big boos for Max escaping a fireman's carry into a crossroads. A Canada homage with a package pile driver right after, not enough to keep Kenny down, which caused Max to snap into his disrespect mode. The commentators hit on how this is exposing Friedman's jealousy of Omega, but his prodding kicks and slaps just amped Kenny up into a flurry of strikes. The Canadian himself brought out disrespect and spit on Max's face before hitting his V-trigger, then a second at the crowd's request, but the one-winged angel escaped out of, with a pure MJF tactic following, pulling Ref right into the path of Kenny's V-trigger, and the payoff for the diamond ring being taken before the bell as he fetched it out of the pocket. Not quite used yet, we still had the table spot to come to. One-winged angel nailed, but there ain't no referee. Paul Turner on down to count. Then the Canadians were a step ahead chanting table, table, as they slowly made their way to the apron. At which point, everything set up paid off in one fell swoop. Punched to the diverticulitis stomach with the diamond ring, then tombstone through the ringside table. Back in for Heatseeker, rope drake piledriver, and MJF retained. Ending the show by walking up the ramp, sat back on his devil throne with his devil crown, the pyro going off as his chair descended back down. Sure, the whole point was I'm the better wrestler, or I'm going to be able to defeat Kenny Omega. I will be able to out-trick him, just like the true devil, and then he descends back to hell as he leaves it. To be fair, that final note, pretty goofy. But I don't know, I felt like for me, MJF sold it well enough, like why he was doing it, that even though it's goofy, him with the pyro going off, like, I now go back to hell. And as he's doing his maniacal evil laugh, it was like, I did it more. I do enjoy that side. I feel like I can take goofy heel MJF, but I couldn't take goofy face MJF. And for some reason, yeah, I don't know what that was. But anyway, unsurprisingly, that was a really solid main event. As you probably might have been able to tell by my tone when everything just clicked together, that I was a really big fan of just the way that ending all flowed. There's been more electric Kenny Omega matches. There's been more epic Kenny Omega matches. But I felt like this one told such a solid story that tied the bow so neatly that I don't really have many complaints. Why I don't like doing a star rating. I was like, yeah, but if I'm comparing it to what the absolute best I've seen is, I can understand why Meltzer breaks his scale, because it doesn't really work. If I'm meant to compare every other piece of Kenny Omega work to his incredible match against Kazuchika Okada, like, I'm going to have to down, like, everything ends up at about a 4, because he's not going to match that Kazuchika Okada epic. Doesn't mean this is bad. It's a really good one. So I'm not going to give any star rating, because I'm like, this is a really strong outing. Just like quite a few other matches where they set their table immediately early on, set something up right out the gate, like Ospreay hitting his hidden blades, like Thekla and Jamie Hayter immediately lamping each other. Like, the first notes were really important in a lot of the matches this night, and this match was no different. But it's the fact that everything tied together. Like, Moxley making a big deal out of the Kenny Omega's stomach, then you got the bit with the diamond ring, then you got the table set up, and they were all just there throughout the match, and then all in one moment they all came together, and that crashed into the ending. So yeah, really liked it. And for me, that just sums up the show. Unsurprisingly, Dynasty did absolutely deliver. The card was really strong going in, the build was solid, and then the pay-per-view itself flowed really well, which is sometimes that's an issue AEW have. Would have thought the same thing if I had watched the pre-show. I don't know, because that is extra matches, which does match fatigue you. But maybe that's the fix. I just don't watch the pre-show and I think, oh yeah, the flow of this show is great. Anyway, what did you think of AEW Dynasty? Do let me know. The Discord for Sister Suplex is mostly the place you're going to have to hit me up. You can try Blue Sky, I'm on that as well. I think I do link it in the description for everything as well. So anyway, I'll be back this time next week to talk about the special shows for Dynamite and Collision taking place on Washington somewhere. Darby only made a big deal about it, and I can't remember what it's called, but I do know it's like a special move to the midweek basketball-y situation. Also, the TNA man's not going to be happy again. Oh, he's not going to be happy. It's going on a Thursday again. Oh, how dare they? How basketball shift things, and wrestling is far less important than basketball, so obviously basketball wins out and wrestling gets moved. But I'll be back to talk about those shows. So with that, I say thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never take it for granted. Hopefully the edit for this one was alright. Again, I've had to rush it again just because of the way that these pay-per-views work. In the memoing on a Sunday really doesn't work for me. So I'll try my best to keep the same quality, but, you know, at least I'm saying this bit at the end this time rather than setting expectations at the front. It's like at the back end, but it's more like, yeah, I've had to rush it. I've had to rush it through. If it's of a good quality, I'm really happy with that. So anyway, see you next week. Ta-ra. Ta-ra.